What are your crimes, Mark? Yes, what are your crimes, Mark? Did you beat your wife? Did you kick up Huck? Well, find your crimes or make it up. Did you laugh at Hubbard? That's not nice, and now you'll have to pay your price. So what are your crimes, Mark? What have you done? Oh, it's too late now. Fair game's begun.
Oh, worse than fair game. I've been hit with tech problems. So I apologize for the late start here. I'm having trouble seeing Joy, but Joy apparently can be seen by you folks out there.
Yes.
And Joy, thank you so much for joining me here.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. And I love that song. What are your crimes, Mark?
Yes.
What are your crimes?
Yeah, ever since I started looking into Scientology, I've had people surrounding me saying, "What are your crimes, Mark?" And so a lot of the things that I wrote into that song are direct comments from the Scientologists who are trying to bull bait me.
I've seen those videos and they're out of control. They're just absolutely out of control. They're just
Yeah. It's insane how they behaved in front of my camera. They don't do that anymore because the global response from seeing them saying "What are your crimes?" was not what David Miscavige wanted.
It's bad PR. It's black PR, right? They create black, but it's black PR. Yeah.
So I'm so happy that you're able to join me here for a while this afternoon, and I have to say, I watched your interview with Tony Ortega and with Alex, and I went on Twitter. I refuse to say X, although I just said it. But I went on there and it said, I can't believe that I like Joy Vila. And but I was really surprised by how delightful and how funny you were. And my first experience with you, of course, is with the MAGA dress and all the Mar-a-Lago stuff.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about that if you don't mind, but primarily we're here to talk about Scientology. And I was wondering, how did you get into Scientology to begin with?
Yeah. So I am an actress, and I've been doing this a long time as singer, and I love doing entertainment. And so I've been like this since I was 5 years old. And I came from an upbringing that was pretty rough. So my mom was paranoid schizophrenic. She was diagnosed, and she was the worst you can be without hurting others or herself. So it was like she was right up there, and she had to be on psychiatric medication, but she wouldn't often take it. So she'd have episodes where she'd, be speaking to things out loud, like demons, and she'd see it in people, and she'd have yelling fits. So I was raised with that, very rough as a child, because you're always your mom's mom, and I love my mom. She was the sweetest person, and my dad was a minister. So he later, when I went to high school, he became a Christian minister, and she became a gospel singer. So I was raised with music, Jesus, lots of art. And I couldn't wait to escape the family dynamic and make it big in Hollywood. That would be my saving grace. I was like, I'm going to do art professionally. This is what I'm doing, a performer. So my parents did support me in that. They put me in acting classes when we had money. And when we didn't have money, we went through really low poverty times. I do community theater, and I got really good at it. And so my family moved from Santa Barbara County, California, to Burbank when I was about 17 or 18. And of course, Burbank is 20 minutes from Hollywood, from Los Angeles. So I'd make regular trips to Hollywood. And I ended up moving out of my family's place and sleeping on my brother's couch and going through this whole tumultuous time where I wanted to make it, and going to auditions. And I end up getting into, a bad situation where I had a boyfriend that physically abused me. I got pregnant. I gave my child up for adoption. Then my mom died. And so I spiraled down. And in that spiral, I ended up in an acting modeling agency that trafficked me. So I was sleeping with men for money. It didn't start that way. They said, just go on dates. And it spiraled down and got worse and worse. I got out of that, praise God, after a year. And there was a lot of women that were telling me it was the right thing to do around. So it wasn't just men. It was very insidious. And this is why I fight against human trafficking today. But in that, I went sober. I went vegan. I ended up in rehab. I even was in a psych ward for a couple weeks. I thought, I'm crazy. Something's wrong. And I said, well, if I change my lifestyle, I'm going to be okay. And within that changing of the lifestyle, I ended up getting an acting or a modeling gig, for a fashion show at Celebrity Center International. So I walked the runway in their big, garden area, and I ended up taking the personality test. And they told me that they would solve all my problems. They'd be my family now, which I was incredibly vulnerable and hurting. And I was 22 at the time, of 22, almost 23. I went through a lot of grief and suffering. I said, okay, I need something. And I was crying. They said, we're going to be your family. We're going to take care of you. You're a rising star. We need more Black artists in Scientology. It was like a casting call almost. And they seemed legitimate at the time. I never heard of Scientology except for a few things. And I said, okay, let's do it. I'm ready to change my life. So I started on that path of doing the personality test and the $50. They were $50 at that time course. I think they're only $100 now. They had acting classes. It was an oasis in Hollywood. And I quickly rose to be one of the most popular people there because I was willing to do whatever it took. And I joined staff, not at Celebrity Center, but at a mission in Sherman Oaks, and did my PRF. And then about a year in, I met a man who was a very successful Scientologist, Torsten von Overgaard, photographer, and they sort of pushed me to kind of get with him, because I'm young and I'm attractive and I'm like, bushy tailed, and they could see I wanted to do more services. They were trying to sell me my Clear package, but I didn't have the money for that. I was a broke artist. But getting with my ex-husband, we ended up getting together and staying together for 7 years and getting married. He started purchasing a lot of the services for me, and then I started making more money. And every time I would have success in my career, they would say, we have to attribute this to Scientology. This is why. Look, now you're here. Look, you just did grade 2, your confessional procedure. It's Scientology. Look, now you're clear. It's Scientology. So I started making more money. And of course, the more I made money, they're like, well, you have to put more money into what gave you that money. So I collectively, with my husband and I, ended up putting in $2 million in Scientology.
Good Lord.
Talk about get taken advantage of. It was so much money. And even though we made good money at many times, there was many times I didn't. And I still would fundraise and put money towards things because I thought, especially fast forward to 2019, I got divorced because it wasn't working. My ex-husband I felt very neglected. And I felt like it was always just go do more Scientology. That'll solve it. So I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't think we're right for each other. I want to be happy. So we got divorced amicably, but I started it. Scientology, Celebrity Center specifically, we're living in the Celebrity Center right now, right? During this time, it's $7,000 a month. You have Sea Org members waiting on you hand and foot. I'm now a celebrity because 2017, my Trump dress took off. And of course, they didn't know I was being political. They didn't like it at the time, but I was being myself. They liked that I was successful. They liked that I was making money. So they would pull me into more one-on-one indoctrination, sec checks to make sure I was being a good girl. And the sec checks got a lot more. And they said, this is preps. This is OT preps. You need this to go OT, operating Thetan, right? So I thought, okay, fine, whatever you need. Now we need these certain staff members to be with you, to help you, because the media will attack you. Now that you're a celebrity and you're a Scientologist, we need to protect you. So I'd have 2 or 3 handlers around me, in plain clothes, are all Sea Org members. And I thought, yeah, sure. You guys can come to the Grammys with me. Yeah, sure. I'll take you to the after party, because I thought it was a good thing. They would tell me they're protecting me, they're helping me, but truly they were watching and recording everything I was doing to make sure I didn't step out of line or say something that was against Scientology. And I kept my Christianity kind of on the down low, but I was a Christian, but I wasn't active. I wasn't going to Christian churches. They'd ask me, are you still praying? Can you not do this while you're doing these services? Let's not mix practices. But yeah, you can be a Christian. You can be a Christian. That's totally fine. We support you being that way, but don't mix practices. Here's Reverend Alfred A. Johnson. Why don't you check him out? Because he's not a Christian minister, but he is ordained in a Baptist church, but he's very much a Scientologist. You know, he's a class 5 auditor. He talks about God in the speeches, but he's a mouthpiece for Christians to try to come into Scientology. He's a propped up PR person for Scientology.
Yeah,
And
he's a walking front group.
100%. And they use him, and they use Tony or not Ortega, but Tony, what's his name? His Islam minister, right?
Yeah, I
You
know
know,
who you.
yeah, you know what I'm talking about. I did a lot of events with these guys. I'm like, great, you can be this, you can be that, you can be this, and still be Scientologist. I bought the Kool-Aid, Mark. I didn't only drink the Kool-Aid, I asked for a second serving because I truly believed in what I was doing. I truly believed that they were helping. When I donated 50 grand here, 20 grand here, they said this is to get illiteracy out of schools and to help children get off drugs, the anti-drug campaign. And look what we did in Colombia. Look what we've done. We're helping police, and we're all of these values that I agreed with. And I saw what psychiatric industry did to my mom that didn't help her. She was tranquilized a lot, and her untimely death at 50, a lot of it contributed to that. So when they told me they want to eradicate those things, I thought, well, yeah, if I knew Dianetics, I could have helped her. But everything I got deeper into, the darker it became. And the more I started to see, it must be something wrong with me, is what I thought. My conclusion was always, I'm the problem, right? What are my crimes? They just need to find it. They're right. I trust L. Ron Hubbard. I trust what they're doing. And I put man above God, above Jesus, above my own integrity multiple times. And it was, the system, it's a boiling frog system. No one intends to join the cult. It was years and years in until it was so painful and so hard. I had to reach out to Jesus. I said, this isn't working. And he brought me out. But it took, during COVID, I was doing OT preps for 3 years straight, 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. I had mental breakdowns. I was living off of caffeine. I was doing nothing but Scientology. I was training as a class 5 auditor. I was on my internship. They kept denying me the OT level, saying, do this now, do this, and taking more money from me. And I'm still donating to the IS. And this time it's just my income. I'm going, I'm not making money because I'm overseas spending money in the UK. I'm not doing my art. I'm not doing speaking engagements. I'm not producing more music. I'm doing a few films here and there. I'm promoting a few companies as the face of, as an influencer, but all that money is going straight to Scientology, and I'm racking up debt. And I'm going, but it's worth it because if I get to my OT levels, it will eradicate the problems that I'm finding. That's what I believed. And it was just this carrot that was dangled in front of me till finally I said, I'd get such a high when I'd go in those auditing sessions, and I'd come out, I wouldn't remember anything, but I'd have this euphoric feeling like, oh, that's my next level. I'm in a spiritual level. And knowing what I know now, it's witchcraft. They bewitch you. They use mind control techniques. I was absolutely controlled with the words they would say, the love bombing. I was desperate for their approval. And I wanted that family. I would hang out with SEAL members thinking, these guys are saving the world. I want to be like them. Like, how cool. Not knowing they're trafficked there. They're suffering, right? And they can't say anything. I can't say anything. There was a few people I trusted to call when I have my mental breakdowns. I'd just be having panic attacks. I had so much, I felt like I felt when I went sober 10 years ago, before when I found Scientology, it started coming back. I thought, how is that possible? I've done superpower, cause resurgence, all 3 L's. I'm class 5. I'm clear. I did OT preps. I've done 12, 13 intensives of false purpose rundown, covering my whole track. Like, I'm clean. I'm a good girl. I'm not committing present time overts there's nothing. What am I not doing? And it gave me such an anxiety, such a depression. I felt isolated. I felt lonely. All I did was hang out in the bubble and be around Scientologists. I'd only do Scientology services and live in Scientology sanctioned places and only go to Scientology events for 12 hours a day for years. And what it brought me was to this point where I wanted to die. And I told them, help me. What reference can you tell me of L. Ron Hubbard's? What can you help? Please help me. And they finally said, listen, right now, you just need to watch a funny movie. Don't think about it. Just go watch a comedy movie. And that, being told that was such a breaking point for me, because I realized they don't have the answers. Mark, they don't know what they're doing. And I thought, and I still thought it was me, but I also knew I was in a situation that wasn't working. I called out to Jesus and he brought me out. He told me to go leave the UK and go to Florida. It started becoming so uncomfortable for me to stay in the UK that I finally went to Florida, and I was going to get back on flag lines, but instead I ended up getting into the Bible and getting into a Christian church and sort of cleansing myself away from Scientology. And the longer I was away, the better I felt. I still mentally thought, I just couldn't hack it somehow. I've got to get back on my internship. I've got to get back on those services. I got to go OTA. But then I started feeling better being away from it. And I started praying, and I met my friend who I've known for 17 years, who said Scientology is witchcraft, and he never joined. And we stayed in touch. We were friends. He was in Florida, and we ended up dating and getting married. And he's not a Scientologist. So suddenly I see this world. I hadn't hung out with non-Scientologists for more than, 3 days in basically 15 years. All my friends were Scientologists. If they weren't, I got them into Scientology. I mean, it was my life. It was my art and my creation, but it was this constant statistics, numbers, and I was constantly like, where are you on the tone scale? And I got this person and this process would work. I didn't realize I was doing 10,000 different calculations every time I met someone. And it literally was driving me insane. I had a psychotic break. And then suddenly, now I don't have that. I don't have to report to anyone. I can wake up late if I want to. I started healing. And in February, the Lord spoke to me clearly, leave Scientology. I mean, I'd gone through healings. I hadn't thought too much about Scientology, but I was still kind of fake in. I hadn't announced I was out. And in February, it was so clear to me. I got baptized again in my Christian faith, came back, started putting my life down for Jesus, which is completely different than Scientology. It's a personal relationship, real spirituality that doesn't come at some sort of cost or some sort of high. I'm married to the man of my dreams, who's so funny and is so not a Scientologist, right? And is so awaked on that. And I started healing so much, I realized I can never go back. It was Scientology causing me those issues. And when I could admit it was a cult and I had to get deprogramming with an amazing pastor, Natalia. She's one of my best friends to today. She's the first one. She said, Scientology is a cult. And I couldn't even hear that from her. I immediately started going, no, it's not a cult. It's just a group and the people are good. And I said, oh my gosh, where did that come from? I'm programmed. And so I started Googling Scientology, and I'm sure you have questions. I know I'm going on and on. I love. Okay, is this okay? All right, good. I want to get my story out.
This is fine. Sure. Okay,
good. Thanks, Mark. You're kind. And I want listeners to hear and your viewers to see the journey that got me there. It was painful. It was hard. But in the time, I just thought, you just got to keep going. You just got to keep going. That's just the next step, because it's what they're telling you. And I love these people. There's so many good people in Scientology, kind people. They're deceived. And I trusted them, thinking this place has to be good. Look what the things they're doing. But when I started Googling Scientology, now that I'm out, now that I knew I could never go back, because I was scared to Google it. I'm like, that's another intensive right there. That's a no-no. Those indoctrination sessions are painful. Those sec checks are painful. I mean, I had so many. And I thought it's just what we have to do. And it's not that being a celebrity or being famous or even donating money protected me from that. In fact, I feel like they got on me harder, because the more they gave me, it's like they told me, you're a Scientologist celebrity. You represent Scientology. You have to say these things. You have to do this. You have to be careful. And so I was like, okay, I don't want to mess up. I don't want to be a bad representation for the group. So I never Googled it. I never listened to someone. I was brain washed, triple washed, extra soap. And when I started Googling, I tell you, my palms got so sweaty. I had a physical, visceral reaction to reading everything that other people know about Scientology, to seeing your videos and the things you've done, and Tony Ortega and everyone who came before me. I started reading, watching Leah Remini's show and watching all the documentaries and all the things on YouTube and reading all the, all of this underground bunker, all this stuff. I'm like, wait, what? This is what everyone else knew. I felt like a fool. I felt ashamed. I felt like I had committed crimes against humanity by getting people in Scientology. because I was victimized, but I also helped victimize people because I'm a very good speaker and I'm
Mhm.
passionate. So when I'm passionate about something, I get people involved. It's my personality. And I got a lot of people in Scientology and they awarded me for that.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
when I realized
Yeah.
I wasted so much time and energy and it brought me to my knees. I broke down and it took me 2 weeks of constant tears. God bless my husband for being there during this time. I mean, this was only in February.
Sure.
But then did I have to speak out? I mean, God told me, speak out, write a book, write your story down. And I start researching the connections between Scientology and the CIA tactics they use, witchcraft, L. Ron Hubbard's hatred for Christianity and his Luciferianism, the Sea Org human trafficking, what they did to children in the Sea Org, the trafficking for labor they do in the Sea Org, the attacks, the fair game attacks on journalists like yourself. I mean, it just became this explosive thing. And I started writing my story interwoven with what I found and how it truly is freedom to be on the other end and the other side. And it's not a dangerous, crazy world like they tell me. There's actually loving people out here, all these SPs,
Yeah.
And so that my book is From Scientology to Christ, The Escape They Never Wanted Me to Make. And it's available in pre-order on Amazon and at joyvila.com. And so now I just speak and I tell everybody my story as much as I can. And I don't care if I get attacked or how crazy, it comes off, because people who are leaving Scientology have inboxed me by the countless loads. I have an inbox filled. In fact, I have my assistant Ingrid on it, helping respond to people till I can get a hold of them, to pray with them, to talk to them, to hear from them, their stories, how they can escape. A lot of people are in that limbo mode where they're not Scientologists, but they say they are. They show up to the events because they don't want to lose their family. Luckily, I don't have family in Scientology, or I don't think I could have walked. Like, it would have been so hard if I had kids or my ex-husband. I mean, I have stepkids that are in the Sea Org and I love them so much. And now they're completely disconnected from me. I used to talk to them. I lost a lot of friends, my heart aches for them. And I cry when I speak to people who say, well, I'm just going to give it another try. I'm just going to see, because they'll talk to me, like, hear my story. And sometimes they choose to stay in there because it's too painful to leave. And I understand that too. I say, I'm not trying to convince you to leave, but I'm going to tell you my testimony and the things I couldn't say while I was in there. I am not going to stop because it's helping other people avoid Scientology. I just spoke at the New California conference with delegates and senators about taking the IRS status away from Scientology. That's why I'm in California right now. So I'm not going to. Yeah. And they were like, whoa, will you talk about it? Because it ties into so many things that people know, but they don't know, about the trafficking, the abuse on children, taking advantage, the mind control, and the word cult is thrown around there. But Scientology is 1000% a cult by every standard, every means of the word, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, physically, how they keep people there. There's just no way around it. This is a dangerous, group that needs to be eradicated from the top down. Individuals are you're able to practice what you want, but they should not have that IRS tax status. They are not a religion. They don't point to any sort of God. They don't help people heal. They hurt people under the guise of healing. They lie to people like they lied to me. And now I don't have any of that hurt. The trauma healing, it happens so quickly because now I just give it to God. I don't have that depression anymore. I don't have that suicidal thoughts anymore. I don't have the anxiety, the constant monkey on my back. I don't have any of that. Like I sip my green juice and I go about my day and, I go, wow, what a free life I have. Thank you, Jesus. I have a great community now. And it happened in a few months. So there is life after cult. There is a good life for those who have escaped it. Even those who've been in since they were kids. I talked to a lot of them, and I encourage everyone to leave and to speak up about it if they can.
And telling your story is so important because this is not unique. The whole mind control factory that is Scientology gets you on that conveyor belt from finding your ruin to controlling every aspect of your life. And the feeling that you had of well, I'm doing something wrong. That's instilled in you by the organization. 100% standard tech works, and 100% of the time you did something wrong, you better do it again and pay us again. It is scary how this operates, and how greater society, even though people out in the real world know more and more and more about Scientology all the time, getting somebody in the government to do something about it is nigh on impossible. So working on getting that tax exemption rescinded, that's probably the most important mission that any of us could have, because they use that status as a shield, and through the court system, that wins over and over and over. It's a church. What are we going to do?
Mm-hmm.
It is very scary. I came to LA years ago myself as an actor, and I was aware of all the Scientology workshops. And I never attended any of them, but I had friends who I knew saying, I think I'm going to go and sign up for Scientology because it's a way into showbiz.
Mm. Mm.
It's a way into
Yeah.
a cult that's
Yeah.
going to control every aspect of your life. It's not worth it.
It's so not worth it. People don't realize that,
Let me tell you one little story from my experiences as an actor there. I had an agent that I loved, and then their agency closed. It took me a couple of years to find another agent I liked. So I got up to an audition for the first time in a number of years. And while waiting there with a couple other actors, one of them was saying, I just shot this commercial. And the other was saying, oh, I just did a TV show. And I hadn't done anything in a couple of years. So I said, well, I'm writing a movie about the Church of Scientology. Of course, if it ever got made, I'd end up dead in a ditch somewhere.
Oh!
And that was it. That's what I said. A week later, I got a call from my agent. Somebody wants you to call this number. And I didn't recognize the number, didn't recognize the name. So I ignored it. The next week, the agent called back really angry. A friend of a friend has a job for you, and they want you to call. And I went, oh, a friend. Okay, well, let's see what it is. It's a job. And the phone was answered, and it was the Celebrity Center. It was the head of the Celebrity Center who heard about my little comment at an audition and tracked me down through my agent.
Serious?
No, this is how tied in they have been.
Oh yeah.
To showbiz. I mean, that was really freaky. And that was before I really knew a lot about Scientology. And I freaked out and went, oh, I was just joking. And he said, well, why would you joke about a thing like that? And I hung up. And then they called back, and
was it in the 80s? Was it Heber Jens, or was it Dave Pettit?
No, I don't remember the name anymore. It wasn't Heber. I would remember Heber.
Yeah.
I did then later go to the Celebrity Center with a friend who was a Scientologist, and she wanted me to come and take a look at the joint. And I thought, I'm just going to wander around. And
I mean, it's a gorgeous castle. That's how they get you. It's
absolutely.
Who don't know, it's a French castle oasis with fountains and greenery. And I think 2 acres in the center of Hollywood, in the grubbiest bars. I mean, it's gone up more upscale, but 16 years ago, that area was awful. It was very overrun with drugs and just like party club, dirty atmosphere. So you have this stunning castle in the middle. It's a French oasis, and there's a restaurant in there, cafes. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's spectacular.
Yeah.
And I know you have to run soon, so I'm not going to go in any more of that stuff. But definitely, this whole process of getting in and getting out, coming through the other side, is so important. Telling your story is so important. There are people who will hear your story and have heard your story, and will leave Scientology because of it.
I believe that
and
too, Mark. I believe, and I know because they tell me they've left because of it. There are a lot of people who have left. There's some people who've questioned. They email me. I always say, email me, joy@joyvila.com. That's my email address. I read my emails. My assistant reads my emails and passes them on to me. And we have a whole system where if somebody needs help in Scientology or getting out of Scientology or wants an ear to listen to, I know that there's already places that are doing this, which I highly recommend. The foundations that are out there, SPTV Foundation and the Aftermath Foundation. But what I'm doing is just being like, if you ever knew me, liked me, or met me, or can listen to my story and find some sort of correlation, there might be something that you feel safer talking to me than anyone else. And that's what I'm getting is people are like, yeah, what you said I went through, this, right? There's going to be similarities. I mean, everybody who's in Scientology right now is a victim, except for David Miscavige and the upper echelon, right? They are victimized into it. There are a few bad eggs who know the scene and they're like, oh, this is great. I can control people. But for the most part, the people I met and knew, they're good people who want to help their society and want to help others. They're family oriented. They have values. That's why they got sucked into this, because Scientology used all of it's designed to find your weak point, your ruin. And then, but everyone who's doing that, mostly everyone, when I was doing that, when I was selling somebody a Dianetics book and I was saying, this is going to solve your problems, it wasn't like I was like, ha, 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 I'm getting off on this person. I wasn't getting paid the $25 they paid for the book. It wasn't getting me anything. That's not how you keep people stuck in a cult. It's much more sinister. You get good people to think they're doing good, but they're actually acting for evil, right? That's for every major group that you have. They think you talk to them. I'm sure if you would talk to a few people in the Third Reich, they thought they were doing the right thing. But that's the evil brainwashing aspect. You can get good people to get controlled by a system to then use that system to control others and manipulate others. So I thought, yeah, this person bought Dianetics. It's going to change their life. They're doing the course like I did the course. This is going to change their marriage. This is going to help them. Because I want so desperately to believe it's going to help me. So the system perpetuates itself. It's self-generating. And the people at the tippy top are the ones getting all the money, getting all, the David Miscavige and his whole team. They're evil. I fully believe that, because they must know that this is not helping. They see the numbers dwindling and dropping. They're perpetuating abuse. They're covering up abuse. People at the bottom, they don't know any of that stuff. They think, oh, this is a self-help, positive group. And they don't have time to think otherwise. We're so forced to go to course after course and to do this and do that. And anyways, it's an evil organization. I'm so glad I got out. It's not easy for those people who are in. I always say have compassion. It's very easy on the outside to throw words at them. Those stupid Scientologists. I would never get in a cult. Well, you know what? Nobody intends to join a cult. Those people didn't think they don't know the things you know. I didn't know all the things everybody else knows when I was in. I never Googled it. I was never allowed to Google. I never saw all that. I believed it at face value, what they told me. And I saw people smiling and I felt happy because some of the things they do in there do actually help you. But it comes with a price. It comes at such a steep price. Like you said, they are in Hollywood. There's a ton of casting directors that are Scientologists, and they said don't do drugs and respect your parents and be neighborly and clean up your garbage. So there's all these values at the surface, like they're helping you. And when you go in, this years-long con.
I know you have to run. Somebody asked, did you reach the OT levels?
I did not. So what I did is I clear class 5. So I reached as high as you can go without joining the Sea Org and auditing, where I became an auditor, which was like a minister in Scientology, right? And it's all bunk science, but it is what, I believed in what I was doing. I thought that was helping others there. And then I did my OT preparations. So that was the next level would have been to go OT, to get to OT1. And I was right there on the cusp before I left, but they said that we want you to finish your class 5 internship, your class 4 internship and your class 5 internship, which I studied alongside Bella Cruz, by the way. She's a class 5 auditor.
And because this was put up on the screen here, did you ever hear anything about the third invader force or Markabians?
Being FBI or is it? Or that? No, I
No,
just in.
yeah, that's some of the UFO stuff that
I know
is
about
really
that
beloved.
now. No, I mean it's so
Yeah.
straight out of his sci-fi books, which they would force us to read all his horrible sci-fi to
All right.
push it to the
Well,
top work. But no, I
uh,
mean I have a few more minutes. I can go a few more minutes longer.
okay. All right.
Push the limits.
Um,
I want to answer questions because I know, but no, I never heard of that. I mean, I heard it from outside people making jokes, and I always
right.
thought that was they were confused or they didn't know. When you're in Scientology, you're
Sure.
brainwashed. I know the answers, and those poor people are lost. Do we have to go? Okay, right. I have to go. Yeah.
All right. Well, is there anything you think a non-Scientologist could say to somebody who's still in Scientology?
Yes, I want to say that. Just be there as a friend for them and tell them, hey, if there's anything I can do to help you, if you need have you seen this video? Like send them something that they could watch. Like it could be my testimony on my YouTube. It could be someone else's. It could be something Marcus said, but something you think that they would be interested in.
Yeah.
And that they might possibly listen to, something you read, you saw, send them a link and be like, hey, I just heard this. Is this true? To pique their interest. And then they probably, if someone sent it to me, I'd probably click on it and then go, oh no, I don't think I can look at it. But there might be that chance I was already questioning Scientology and that's the information I needed. But be loving to them. Don't be like, you need to get out. It's a cult. None of those people who would yell and scream at me at the Dinex tables I was out ever helped me get out of Scientology. The ones who did would say, hey, I love you. If you need help, hey, you want to talk to me? I heard about Scientology. It's dangerous. You can't serve two masters. You can't be a Christian and Scientologist. Let me help you. Gentle rebuke, being there consistently, praying for them, being able to still hang out with them, even if they're Scientologists, and say, so how are you feeling? Because a lot of people didn't know I was suffering inside, but a lot of people didn't ask. They're like, I don't want to be rude.
Right.
I didn't want to say anything. Say something, because it might be between you and them committing another awful amount of years or money or time or even hurting themselves and staying in there. It is abusive. Every year they're in there, they're getting more and more beat down, abused, giving money they don't have. So say something, but do it in a way they can receive it. Think about how you'd want to be spoken to.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Joy. I really appreciate you spending some time here with me, and I hope we can do it again sometime.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate you. Thank you for your activism and doing everything you do.
You bet.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
All right. Bye. Okay. Well, I'm sorry that we couldn't get to all the questions that you had or any of the questions that I had, but I certainly enjoyed having Joy here and hearing her story. It is that journey of meeting Scientology, having them find your ruin, getting you on that mind control, factory line, and working their magic on changing every thought process you have to become. Instead of having your thoughts, you're having L. Ron Hubbard's thoughts, and it's really insidious. So for you folks who were here for this, I hope you enjoyed that. Let me see if there are any other questions or comments here. Oh, come on, let me go back here. Live. All right. Lady Victoria says that was great. Thank you. All right. Apostate Alex is here. Hey, Alex. I mentioned I listened to, for the first time, I listened to Joy with you and Tony. And it was quite a revelation. Let's see. I'm going all the way back here. I wish... I hope you saw everything fine on your side. Again, most of the time I was looking at a black screen, occasionally a frozen frame. So there's something going wrong on my side here, even though it says I have a strong connection to the net. Well, I think we. I didn't get to this one from JB808. Stacey Francis was a Scientologist. You used to say she was a Christian. Total Scientology PR tactic? Absolutely. I mean, I think we can all answer that one. Yeah, the whole, you can be a Scientologist and a Christian or a Jew or a Muslim. That's all PR. You know that they go after you for other practices if you continue to practice being a Christian or a Muslim or a Jew. That green juice looks good. Okay. I did catch a glimpse of the green juice. It didn't look as good to me as a nice old can of Diet Pepsi, but that's just me. And Kelly thinks that perhaps it was a spinach smoothie. Okay. So next time we have Joy here, I do want to go into this. You know, how are things going with that tax exempt status revocation? Again, getting somebody to act on that is nigh on impossible, but that's not impossible. It's just nigh on impossible. But that's the most important thing that we can do to actually, you know, strike an effective blow against Scientology. What we can do more easily is what we're doing right now, is talking to people and putting out information on the internet. I mean, that's changed everything. Back in the olden days, when the internet was still very new in this battle, I don't know who it was. It could have been Arnie Lerma who said the internet is Scientology's Waterloo. But that is so true. There's no turning back now for Scientology. They cannot possibly win against the torrent of information that exposes their every lie and their every action. The fact that you can join Scientology through an acting seminar, start to get some jobs, start to get a little fame, and then have handlers put at your side. This factory, this machine that they have created is so insidious. We used to see the handler with Katie Holmes when she was still married to Tom. You know, somebody right by her side all the time, making sure she sticks to the straight and narrow, doesn't hear anything negative, and certainly doesn't respond to anything negative. But the web they have in showbiz is particularly insidious to me. I mean, that's just that example that I gave of making an offhand comment at an audition, leading to Scientology tracking me down to try to silence me. And did they? No, they didn't. Although it did, you know, have me pretty freaked out at that moment. Somewhere I do have the cassette tape from the return call on my answering machine. So I, you know, I'll have to try to dig that up, and I no longer have a cassette deck in which to dub it over, but I think there's a way for me to do that at our public library. Please support your local public libraries. They do amazing things. It's not just books. It's not just tapes. It's not just all this other stuff. At least here in Clearwater, you can check out power tools at our library. So move to Clearwater. If you have any woodworking you need to do, this is the place to be. All right. So, folks, do you have any other things you wanted to talk about here tonight? Who is? Oh, I see. Haggis Basher has put this in the comments. Jamie Mustard's new book will blow the doors off of Scientology. To which 49ers fan for life asked the question that I and many others, I'm sure, are asking: who is Jamie Mustard? And the answer: an author, artist, child born into Scientology, a survivor of Scientology. Well, there you go. And Haggis Basher, while we're here, let me pull up your website again, and this time I'm going to try to allow you to hear me as I share this screen. And in order for you to hear me, I'm going to stay on screen. And we'll see if this works. Tell me if you can't hear me while I'm doing this. But I'm going over here to show this Victims Have Voices website. Really nice job here. Empowering survivors, raising awareness. Your thoughts are valid. And there's all sorts of great stuff here on this site. Purpose, law firm information. If you need some help with Scientology, if you know things that are going to help these attorneys take down Scientology over child sex abuse, exploitation, trafficking, these are the folks to turn to at Andrews and Thornton. And also contact information for the FBI and the DOJ. Words on latest legal actions. And let me just check. You are hearing me, correct? I'm hoping you are. And then, as I noticed the other day, survivor stories that we have, actual stories and videos from folks around the world here. Let's see where the videos are. Where did I see those? Worldwide advocacy under here. Yep, there we go. So we have Laura FM here. We've got, is the name Mirjam in Copenhagen, Nora in Oregon, T in Australia, Samuel in Switzerland, Jerry Armstrong, Audit LA in California, Alex in England, who had a big win. That was a huge win. The Scientology backed down from blocking all protests at St. Hill. We've got a link here to Alex and Tony's interview with Joy. We've got the testimony that I put up from Paulette Cooper at the 1982 hearings. Mona in Michigan, Phil in Canada, Sandra in Canada, lots of folks out there talking, and many more coming all the time. We need you to join in with your voice and your actions. So thank you, Haggis, for putting that site together. That is a wonderful resource for everyone. Let me come back up here. Any other start questions here that I missed? From Dominic Roberts. Hi, Mark. Does Scientology still have an aggressive approach to its critics, or has it mellowed out somewhat now? Also, do they still make use of PIs? Well, I am sure they still use PIs up the wazoo. I'm not sure about the aggressive tactics. I'm sure they're using them where they can. but they're not getting in our faces the way they used to, say when I started into this in '99. Um, but I'm sure there are people out there right now with stories about horrible things that are being done through PIs by Scientology. I know I have been followed from time to time. I stopped looking for them a long time ago, but I used to find them on my tail constantly. I remember one time, right after I first showed my face, like in the probably late '99, I was working doing market research for the movie studios, and I had traveled from LA down to Orange County, like an hour or more away. And I was at this movie theater outside the theater, inside a mall. And some woman came up to me and said, "You know, that guy's been taking pictures of you for the past hour." I went, "What?" No, I didn't know that. And yeah, there was a PI standing there. So I went up to him and started talking to him to tell him, who the people were that he was working for and what they've done. And he didn't say a word. He started walking away, and I just stood by his side and followed him everywhere he went, through the mall, out into the parking structure, and then we wandered around the parking structure for a while, but he didn't want me to see his car to check out his license plate. So he kept walking and walked across the street, and then there were shops across the street, so he walked into a furniture store, and I walked along right by him, telling him about Lisa McPherson and all the other horrific things that Scientology had been involved with. Kept talking to him until we crossed again. He flagged a taxi and sped away. Never said a word to me, not a word. But he abandoned his car in the parking structure and took a taxi out of there. And then as soon as the coast was clear, he came back and got his car, I'm sure. But I'd hate to think it's still there 27 years later. It's possible. He may have just said, "Scientology, you owe me a new car. I could not go back there. It was dangerous. There was this suppressive person. You warned me about him. He was a suppressive person, and he wouldn't stop talking to me. I had to flee." Anyway, they're still, going through people's garbage and trying to screw with people's jobs and livelihoods and family members and all that kind of stuff. Nothing new there. That's the same stuff they've always done. All right. More comments? Well, let me see here. What do we have? Let's see. Scientology Up North says, "OSA has got a lot of good pictures of me. They don't try to hide, but come right to my face. I've made a habit of posing for them." And that's, embrace it. Maybe it, if it's a good photo, you could make the cover of Celebrity Magazine. So please, always don't be unkempt. You want to look your best for celebrity. And I got to tell you, that's something that really pissed me off. The 4 years that I was on the council, I had to constantly turn over all of my text exchanges about Scientology, all my emails about Scientology, phone logs of anyone I was talking to about Scientology, to Scientology. And I thought, at least I am going to have a wonderful cover story in Freedom Magazine for all of this work. Nope, not a peep. Not a peep. And I tell you, it was time consuming going through all of that stuff. And as I've mentioned before, in my official email account for the city, we can put a little signature at the bottom, some wonderful little phrase or whatever have you. And in mine, I would take some of the most inflammatory Scientology, L. Ron Hubbard stuff and put it in there. So for a while, it was the whole OT story. And then other times it was Hubbard's view that, soon Scientology will be the government. So I thought as long as this is going into the record and Scientology wants to see all of these things, let them have it. Jay is saying, aren't there any privacy laws about people taking pictures of you without your permission? Kelly appropriately responds, at least here in the US, and Kelly's in Canada, so I'm assuming it's the same way. Anyone can film or take your pictures in a public space. And that has always been the situation as long as I've been doing this. There are some states here that are two-person, I forget what that's called. But if you're secretly recording them, like you've got a recording of a phone call that was made with somebody, and the person on the other line of the phone doesn't know that you're recording, that is illegal, and it can cause you a lot of trouble in court if you do that. Same way if you sneak in to the org, and people are doing this. It seems like there's a lot of people now in LA who are taking their cameras into the testing center. It's always fun to see inside there. I'm not sure if California is a two-party state or not. But it also depends if Scientology wants to make something of it. People have been doing hidden camera exposés on Scientology across the globe for the longest time. But two-party consent. Thank you, Kelly. And Jay says, I think we have something similar. Yeah, probably do. Susan is off to make supper. Well, put a plate on the table for me, will you? And Jay is in the EU. Must be nice over there. Man, I like that. Bill's saying, go, Mark. And I guess that's, I should go to the EU. Boy, I'd love to go back there. Scientology up. Oh, no, I read that one. Jay says, it's amazing to see that I'm still going, Mark. I know, I'm old. I remember ages ago when you came to London with Tori, 2008. I got footage of that I'm preparing. So you'll see more of that footage that hasn't been played yet. Was a fun time. Hope you're doing well and hope you get reelected. Well, I hope so as well. So thank you for the well wishes. Well, there you go. 49ers fan for life says Aaron just followed a PI for 2 hours. And there's something satisfying in that. Have them on the run. I also have to say, just before coming on with Joy here, I saw a little alert on my phone from Aaron. Aaron was going live to announce that Peggy. Why can't I think of her name right now? The actress who Elizabeth Moss. That's right. Elizabeth Moss has left Scientology, and I went, "Oh my God, I gotta watch this because Joy was in showbiz, and I can mention this to her, and it could spark a conversation." So I go over to check his video, and he says, "Okay, well, it's fake, it's AI, but let's take a look at it." So I didn't stick around to take a look at it because I had a stream to do. But it would be nice if Elizabeth Olsen, what's her name? If she left. I just said her name. I tell you. It's not easy being 69. Elizabeth Moss, thank you. All I have to do is sit here, quietly contemplate for a while you folks stare at me, and I can come up with anything. Okay. Well, I tell you what, rather than going back and looking at comments that I probably saw in passing as we were going along, I think we should probably wrap this up. Unless there's anything else that you folks wanted to know or wanted to talk about. Oh, here we go. Does Com Trues still do stuff in the church? I'm sure he does. You don't devote your life to Scientology the way Com Trues does. I feel like they've been slowly trying to rehab his image here. He does talk shows and goes around signing stuff. Yeah, I think there is certainly a desire on his part and Scientology's part too, I'm sure, to rehab that image. It certainly has bounced back a lot from the couch jumping years. And you'll see people who I love and respect, like Simon Pegg, who's in the Mission Impossible films, saying what a great guy Tom is. And most people say that. He's intense, but he's a good guy. And I have no reason to doubt that. In fact, if Tom wants to prove it, invite me over to dinner. We could talk about a lot of stuff, including Scientology. But he's here. He moved here. He moved here to be part of this. He's showing up at Scientology events, so he's still in. It's going to be hard to wrench him free, I think. Almost as hard as wrenching me away from a live camera, but I got to do it. People, it's been fun. I had a great time, and I will see you again soon with some sparkling footage that perhaps you've never seen before. And then here comes a question. Just as I say that, I should ignore these, but I can't. I'm obsessive. Phyllis says, question: if California is two-party consent, how does Scientology tape auditing sessions there? By joining Scientology, you sign so many papers that consent is given. And I'm sure that even if people don't know their auditing sessions are being recorded, finding out, they'd probably go, yeah, well, that makes sense. Yeah, this is for my salvation at stake here. We want to have everything, logged for my next lifetime. So when I come back, you'll have all the records of everything that I told you here in our auditing sessions. So, two-party consent is only a problem if one of the parties might be upset about it. All right. Mark Headley was installing hidden cameras in Copenhagen. Yeah, I believe it. I'm sure there are hidden cameras everywhere. You sign away your left nutsack, probably, says Jay Gatsby. All right. And solidarity with you. Keep up with Xenu TV. Thank you very much. And everybody, once again, it has been a delight, and I will see you again soon. Everybody, thank Kelly for all the hard work that she has done keeping this thing moving here. And don't forget, You can always buy a wise beard man. I was going to make a picture of Joy in a "Make Clearwater Clear Again" shirt, and I said, nah, I'll get permission before I do that. But Mecca, make Clearwater clear again. Got to get her on board that. All right, everybody, it's been fun. See you again soon. Bye.
What are your crimes, Mark? Yes, what are your crimes, Mark? Your crimes are hidden, they should be seen. Spin all out, Mark, and just come clean.